So, I am a first time iPhone user, and as we know on my channel, I love to showcase what a phone is capable of when it comes to the camera performance. Now, do keep in mind, this is my first impression of a phone that I've never used, so there are some learning curves in some situations, like live photo. But let's go to the open air museum in Arnhem to test out the different situations and see how the iPhone 16 Pro holds up. So let's talk about results, starting with this Harry Potter car in Amsterdam, sort of. Here I would say the shot, while having a decent amount of over-sharpening in terms of look, it's okay. The ultra-wide though does have even more over-sharpening, but the color calibration between the two sensors is actually quite solid. Now we are talking about a shot and a situation that is quite challenging for a phone. We have a good amount of shadow around me with a brighter background because the sun was hitting that part, of course. I will say the ultra wide really feels very artificial. The image looks flat and part of it looks noisy, and over sharpening while also softening as well. Not to mention that it feels like in parts the colors are just kind of removed. With the main sensor the results are better, sure, with better balance in terms of light, but some over sharpening that you can see on the trees as well. It pretty much counts the same for the 2x zoom as well. Zooming in 5x, again, the shot is okay, but nothing really impressive and very flat in terms of look. And in this shot we get a pretty challenging situations for some phones with the same situation as before. While many high-end or ultras will do well here, again I will say that the ultra-wide is very poor. It feels like a mid-range phone instead. It lacks a lot of colors like it does have in real life. But that can be fine, but the problem is that it looks very flat as well. Sure, the main sensor does do a bit better, but again it feels very flat for shots like these. The only shot I like in this one is the 5x zoom. That one is actually quite solid. The others? I'm not sure what Apple is doing here. Now a bit less hard at this windmill. Again, the ultra wide makes it feel like I'm missing something. I'm using auto to showcase what you get, but images look really flat. Poorly managed in balance, and again colors are just disappearing. Like, that is green grass. Sure, it's not something crazy where some phones will oversaturate it, but again it feels like someone turned down the saturation all the way down, just went into Lightroom and turned it down by 80. With again the only shot that is actually being nice is the 5x zoom.
Yeah, I noticed that I'm not really using the shutter button at all. Maybe just as taking a picture, but definitely not for zoom. It's quite annoying actually.
So let's continue a bit more inside. Not ideal lighting at all on this bike shop, but again I feel very underwhelmed by the performance, even more so when you zoom in, giving a result where the image is trying to sharpen but at the same time trying to smoothen out the sharpening, leaving a really weird effect on the shot itself. Now outside, not really a challenging situation or shot by any means, and I will say in terms of colors, apart from the brightness itself, they've done pretty well. It feels pretty much like it was in terms of colors, but again it struggles a lot with the balance, where the buildings between the trees look really poor on the ultra wide. On the main sensor it looks a lot better in terms of balance, and the image itself looks fine. Nothing to write home about though. This kind of shot would have been better on a lot of phones out there. Now zooming in a bit as well with the crop, meaning 2x, and as well of course using the 5x zoom again. It just feels very basic in terms of result and nothing really impressive, and it does struggle with the whites on the buildings.
Just testing front facing camera and also talking about my experience so far. I know this button should be convenient and it should add a level of extra, and I don't want to go against innovation when it comes to that, but it doesn't work that well. I hardly ever use the button for one, but especially for zoom. Like, the zoom is just stupidly annoying. And then again, changing styles, it doesn't work. It's annoying, it's tedious, it's just the whole control of the camera app itself just feels like I need to take extra steps to where I want to be, and it doesn't necessarily work that well for me.
I also know that during shooting these kinds of shots, a lot of times I really needed to turn down the brightness. Be it because the exposure issues or simply because the image can look really flat if it's too bright. But shots like these are ruined by artificial sharpening. Again, I want to bring your attention to the OnePlus 12 in this comparison. Sure, the saturation is too high, it has a bit of exposure issues on the leaves itself, but this is a €650 phone, half the price, and the images look far more pleasing and like it's actually taken on a much better phone in comparison. I really feel like I'm missing something on this iPhone because I always hear that it gets a lot of praise, but realistically, I'm very underwhelmed when it comes to the camera performance so far. And trust me, I'm trying my hardest with great compositions like these, giving it a fair shot, where granted it did do a lot better than some other shots out there, but that's more of a standout, where it does well than when it does poor. This kind of scene is beautiful, having a boat and with the buildings behind it, giving a nice contrast, and then the shadows really allowing the shot to stand out. But again, it doesn't, it just feels really flat and underwhelming. Here for instance, in comparison with the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, it doesn't stand a chance against it at all.
We'll see. Video quality on the phone itself looks solid. Transitioning between different lenses also, okay, that was a bit jarring, but most of the time video recording is actually quite solid, and it does represent pretty well what I'm looking at in reality. Sure, there are some colors a little bit off, like the sky is a little bit more blue and a dark blue than it is in real life. Like there's a gradient to it, which it doesn't have in real life. It's like somewhere there, the color, not there. You stack up, especially when it comes to these kinds of shots. Android if more transfer moving, but it does a little bit of a jitter. iPhone is really bright and looks a little bit messy on the phone, but that's on the phone. Jermaine.
Now let me try to showcase to a degree what this iPhone is capable of with some decent shots that I've taken on it. But again, this is more of a unique moment where it performed well more than anything else. The consistency of doing well is more rare than I'd like it to be. And the biggest thing is that often images look too bright, some exposure issues, and you can only get nice shots if you don't make it too challenging. Or maybe if you use styles. But that in itself is pretty much a pain to use properly. And here a short part about portrait. That in itself looks fine to me in terms of quality and result. Not really crazy good, and I think Vivo will do better here for instance, but when it comes to the portrait, it looks fine. It just looks fine. If you are an iPhone user, an Apple lover, I would advise staying away from this part when it comes to this video. Simply put, there are some things that you're not gonna like, so be warned. If you're mad about it, and you're gonna be mad in the comments, do your thing, but just know, I warned you that it's not going to be a kind part here. Either way, let's talk about the iPhone 16 Pro. Let's begin with the new feature, the camera button. As you notice, this is where the camera button should be for optimal use. This is where it is. Why? This is too far. This is a really awkward placement. It doesn't work well at all. It doesn't work well for holding it like this either, because then you would want it around here instead of being around here. And not to mention that in terms of use for zooming in, the feature that they are trying to showcase really well, it's a pain. I'd rather use the on-screen zooming in, which is a rotation. It's better, it's more accurate, it works nicer instead of having to scroll the whole time. That's how it feels. And in terms of using it as shutter button, it is an actual button, so you're pressing it in. You do feel the button being pressed in, and yes, you can start the camera with it. But in terms of use, it's inconvenient. And I think it's more of a marketing ploy than anything else. It's not a nice feature to have on the phone itself. And honestly, I wouldn't miss it if it was gone, because I simply do not use it. And now we get to the camera experience. Let's begin with the ultra wide, because here I will say straight away that the ultra wide simply isn't good. In terms of exposure, it has some real issues, especially if it is a little bit hard. Not ideal lighting, but just something being in front of it with a bright background. There it really struggles with exposure. It really struggles with exposure. There's a €650 phone, which is the OnePlus 12, that does it better in terms of balancing that exposure. Is it perfect by any means? No, but it does it better than this phone that costs twice as much, or about twice as much. Well, technically more than twice as much, because that one has 512 gigabytes and this has 128 gigabytes inside for a Pro. Either way, when it comes to the experience of the ultra wide, I think here it's really poor. I know, people can say, yeah, but wait for updates. No. This is what you currently get. This is the phone that you currently get. The experience that you currently get. Never take a phone based on future promises. Those future promises are not set in stone. They might not happen. They might not improve. You don't know that. What you do know, however, is how it currently performs. And how it currently performs when it comes to the ultra wide is pretty piss poor. I don't think it's really good at all when it comes to said ultra wide. And then we have to talk about the camera experience. Apart from the button, that's the thing. But one thing that annoys me is live photo. Again, I am a new user when it comes to Apple. Live photo is a pain. So when I try to take shots and put it on my PC, it's .move, M-O-V, movie.move. So it's a video instead of being a still image. What I then had to do, because I didn't know, is turn off live photo in every single image. And what happened then is I got some duplicates as well. Because why not? We just get them. I don't get that. It's annoying. It's really annoying. So for those who want to know and are new in terms of using Apple, it's a circular thing that doesn't feel connected to live photo at all. It's a circular thing at the top right. That's how you use that and turn that off. So definitely turn that off, because it's annoying, especially if you do want to put it on your PC. Because .move, why would I want that? I don't get that. And then we have to talk about styles as well. As we know, I love to play around with styles, exploring different kinds of feels that you get from a shot itself by using said styles, because there are situations where I'm at a castle, for instance, that I was pretty much last week. And I try to play around with styles to get that feel that feels right for that shot. When it comes to the iPhone, you do have styles, and I really do like having the possibility of styles. But when it comes to convenience and using it, it's actually quite annoying. It feels like the work area in terms of where you can scroll is very small. When it comes to, for instance, Xiaomi or other brands, I have a small preview of it, especially with Xiaomi. I think that they do it best. You get a small preview and what it is. You scroll. You can straight away scroll to whatever you want. It's really easy and it's really fast. It's convenient. When it comes to the Apple, it's anything but. It's a small thing that you slide through and then you get different styles. When you're on it, you see what style it is in terms of naming and of course the result that you get with it. I find that very inconvenient. I find it annoying to use it. Not to mention, as stated, it's very inconvenient to scroll through those. If you quickly want to change the style, that's not really a thing, because simply put, I tried holding it and then just scrolling through it fast, and then somehow it moved to the other position, so I had to go again to go to natural. It was not pleasant at all in terms of experience when it comes to styles. Either way, when it comes to the iPhone, again, I am new to it, so it's a first impression, not a full impression so far at all. I need to have more situations where I can judge how the camera actually performs, and maybe with updates we'll see where it ends up. if I can hold on to it long enough, because I am really not enjoying it so far. But when it comes to the camera experience, especially the ultra wide, I'm not impressed. When it comes to video, that one seems fine, but when it comes to the camera and stills, I am not sure about this one. Maybe I'm a bit spoiled with the good phones that I have, that Apple just doesn't seem impressive at all. Either way, I do hope that you enjoyed this video. Of course, I'm going to do comparisons with the iPhone 16 Pro versus, for instance, the Xiaomi, the Vivo, the Oppo, and maybe also OnePlus, depending on if you want that. But when it comes to the phone experience, I'm going to showcase it a bit more, of course, when using it a bit longer and having different situations that I've really tested it in and see how it performs. And if it changes my opinion about the phone experience itself. But so far, I'm not impressed. Either way, I do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like and comment below and so on. And of course, you can already become a member of my channel as well. These people are already a member. Thank you very much for those people to become a member. I really do appreciate it. You can become a member, but you don't have to. Either way, hope you enjoyed this video and talk to you guys in the next. Oh boy, I spent so much money on this thing, on my mobile contract. I am not a fan. Why did I take this phone?